Vamos a comenzar con su
Yes,
presentación.
I hear you, everything is okay.
Súper. Perfecto. Bueno, entonces podemos comenzar con la conferencia. Muchísimas gracias por estar con nosotros.
Thank you very much, Maria Jose, and thank you for inviting me to this beautiful conference. And definitely, Friedrich Naumann Foundation has done a great job organizing different events all around the world. And I'm very happy that I can share some of Estonian experiences throughout our journey from the early 90s until today, and what we have achieved in digital society, and then also how to maybe just some very important milestones what we have gone through to be where we are at the moment. And I have a slideshow, and I have one video in that slideshow, and I hope that local organizers will turn on the video, as it's not so easy to have a video with the sound with shared screen. So I will start now my presentation with my slides, and then we can go through my slides, and then of course, as was mentioned also, that I'm more than happy to answer to your questions. So Estonia is a relatively small country, and of course, as you know, that we like to say that we are the coolest digital society in the world at the moment, and definitely, you know, we would like to see that many countries will follow our path and our journey, and will give the people the possibility and opportunity to use all these services what we have digitally designed for our people. And I believe that this is one of the key topics that when you are designing something for your people, then this has to be the biggest like target for everyone, that we keep in mind that it's everything for the people, and not for the governments, not for the companies, mostly of course for the companies, but we have to keep in mind that everything is for the people. So just a couple of words about Estonia. We are a small country, so we have just 1.3 million people, approximately a bit more. Our area is over 45,000 square kilometers, which is basically comparable to Netherlands. So, but when you compare Netherlands and Estonia, then you understand that the surface or the area is the same. But in Netherlands, there lives approximately 17 million people, and in Estonia, 1.3 million. So, which means that this was actually one of the reasons why we had to come to the digitalization, because we have many people living in the urban areas, and it's not so easy to catch them with all the services, as we have the area is big, but not so many people. So we are using Euro, and we are one of the most integrated countries in the world, in Europe. So we are a member of European Union, we are a member of NATO, we are a member of OECD, and Digital Nations is a new creation, relatively new creation, but also there. And when we take specifically ICT sector, then we have there already 6% of workforce. So this also shows something that we are quite digitalized. So the first question, why we decided to digitalize approximately or most of the services what we have. And one of the reasons, or one of the reasons for that was that, yes, as I said, that we are a small nation, and when you take that in 1991, after gaining our independence, our budget was approximately 100 million US dollars. So, and when you have for a whole nation, you have 100 million US dollars as a budget. So then you need to be creative, and then you need to think what you can do differently, and you cannot allow yourself, or you cannot offer traditional bureaucratic structures, and because you don't have enough money and you don't have enough manpower for that. So and some say sometimes that Estonians are not the most talkative people on earth. So for them, digitalization would save not just time and money, but also the need to interact with people at government offices. So, but of course, this is just a joke and not the real reason. But we wanted to have a fast decision-making process, and then for that we needed to have digital-minded leadership. And what we created, or what we established at the very beginning, was that we said that we have to have once only principle. And what this once only principle means that when you give some data or some information to the government or to the state, then the government and state cannot ask the same information again, because you gave it already to the government. Which means that we had to create the systems where the government institutions will share the information they collect from the people. And one of the principles was also that we wanted to have an e-state. So which means that we are digital by default, that as many services you can provide, they are digital. And at the moment, we can say that 99% of our services are actually accessible online. And this is and when we take that why or what are the next extra principles, then to have the possibility to say that we have 99% of the services online means that you have to say something to people. And what we said to the people is that we will design the services citizen-centric, that the citizen has to be in the center of the service. At the very beginning, we said that we want to have this possibility not only for citizens but also for private sector. And actually, one of the biggest drivers or who pushed the government a lot was the private sector, and especially banks. When we talk about the e-identity or the identification, what is the key or what is the backbone of the e-services, then the banks were the first ones who started to push the government that you need to create identification system online that we can provide the services. And of course, it was not so easy at the beginning because the internet access was not so widely spread, and at the moment, 4G network over mobile network is accessible almost 100% in Estonia, and nobody can say today that they cannot use electronic services because they don't have internet. Yes, they have, and yes, they can use the services. And now, when we came to the next topic, that how do you can say to people that, okay, we will provide the services, but what you will do with the services when I want to change something, or the information, the data is on paper, that how we control this, and who owns the data. And this is always the key question in these services, that who owns the data. And we said from the very beginning that the data belongs to the individual, that they own their personal data, and this is the fundamental part for the development of trustworthy online services, that you have to say that yes, I own the data, I know who looks my data, and I can always check. For instance, we have the state portal, and when you log into the state portal, you can always check who has looked your data. And I believe that this is very, very crucial and very, very important, that that you can check. Because, for instance, a couple of months ago, I checked who has looked my data. I saw that police looked my data. I asked them why they did that. And they were saying that, and they answered to me that, yes, they were making checks on the road. And my mother was driving the car. And as I was also marked in the car's registry that I can drive this car, then they also checked my name. So I got an information that police on the road checked my data from the police database. So you need to give people understanding that they own the data, and then you have to bring the trust towards it from people to the government. So the first big message or important message what I'd like to give to you is that you can digitalize everything. So as I said, 99% of the services today in Estonia are already digitalized almost, and then you can have online services for everything. So also in the private sector, as I said, the banks were the first ones, but then all the other services also came along with this process. So basically you want to have a Christmas tree today. I can go to the forest. I have my mobile. So I have my mobile phone. I go with this mobile phone to the forest, and I can make the payment directly in the forest, and I can take and cut my own Christmas tree. When I go fishing, I just go fishing with the same mobile payment. I can pay my fishing license. The same with a hunting license. When there is a need to report a crime, when there is a need, or when I go to buy a new vehicle, then I can check this vehicle history from the database. So everything you can do online, and this gives a huge new world to the people. Today, I know that one of the key topics for you there is a smart cities, and definitely when we talk about different services, what cities can provide, then this is a huge field for the cities where they can do a lot for their citizens, for their people. So, but there are some very small. I said 99%. So basically today we can say that only getting married or divorced cannot be done online for obvious reasons. We still believe that you need to see your wife or your husband before getting married, or when you want to be divorced, then it's maybe wise to go to the specialist and to go through all the process and this is at the moment. But what we see, and why I'm writing here on the slide that this is for now, this is because we have already e-notary, and you can buy a premise online with a notary. You can do your other services with the notary online, because you can identify yourself, and the notary can see everything. And especially at the moment with the COVID and all these crises, what we have all around the world, all these e-services has proved themselves as a top solid services, and we are very happy that we have this kind of possibility. But still, to get married, you have to go to someone. So the core or the backbone of this journey is identification. So electronic ID, what we are using here in Estonia since 2002, is actually the backbone for everything. Of course, at the moment, we have also mobile ID, we have smart ID, we have different possibilities and different options for us to identify yourself online. But still, when you want to provide the services, I will go now to the next backbone, which is the X-road. But still, we have to understand that you need to identify people to provide services. when you don't identify people, then you cannot provide also the services for them, because everything, e-elections, what we have since 2004, e-tax board, which we have since 1999. I will show you the timeline, what we gone through, but all these services are available only because we have the electronic identification of citizens. So today we can say that more than 70% of people are using ID card regularly. And actually this 70% today is already almost 20% of people use mobile ID, and more people use smart ID. So what is the difference between the mobile ID and smart ID? Is very simple, that mobile ID is linked to your ID, to your SIM card, but smart ID is actually not linked directly to your SIM card, but is an online identification, which you can do with the help of your mobile phone, but it's not linked to the SIM card. And the new service, what I introduced when I was the Minister of Interior in 2014, was the e-residency. And e-residency is mainly focused on foreigners who want to make business here in Estonia, but also for global companies. For instance, is a very good and simple example of the e-residency advantages and benefits is that when you have a company where you have shareholders or the board members who are sitting in Mexico, in Los Angeles, in London, in Paris, then they can actually establish a company here in Estonia in 20 minutes, which is a solid, proved company, and they can all sit at their homes and they can sign all the papers regarding the company. And for that, we have the e-residency system in place. And this means that that people can have electronic residency of Estonia. So this is a really nice opportunity we introduced 7 years ago, and I'm really happy that I was the lucky one who signed the first e-residency card to Honorable Edward Lucas, who is also very well known in Europe and in Great Britain especially. So this is, as I mentioned, I will now say a couple of words about the X-Road, the backbone of our e-services. So when we started our digitalization in '94, because '94 was the first time when we introduced in the parliament where I'm sitting at the moment, when we introduced in Parliament the first draft of the Digitalization Act, or the aim how we should move towards digitalization. And then we saw that to provide all these services, we need to have one backbone, and this backbone is actually X-Road. So which means that all the services are using the X-Road to communicate with each other. So basically, the point is that when you log into the tax board, then you need to identify also yourself or take the data from the population register. But also, when you want to declare your taxes, then you need to have information from your bank. And via this X-Road, banks will send information to tax board. Tax board can make inquiries to different registries, and maybe I will give you one example from the e-prescription I was able to introduce to Estonian people in 2011. Then we in first 2 weeks. So the estimation when we introduced electronic prescription, which is at the moment the most used electronic service here in Estonia. 99% of all prescriptions are prescribed electronically. Then when we introduced that, our estimation was that in first couple of months, the usage of the e-prescription will be approximately 20 to 25%. We were wrong. It went up immediately to 50%. And the system collapsed. And then we had to look into the system, that what is wrong in the system, how we can reduce the inquiries. And then we saw that via the X-Road, we had too many inquiries, because when the a doctor prescribes you a drug, then he needs to take the information from the people's registry, from the drug registry, from the health insurance registry, in total from 7 registries. And the system was built, the architecture of the system was a bit difficult, which meant that the system made 14 queries to make one prescription. And then we changed this architecture to so that the query went to one registry, then went through all the other registries, and then gave the answer back to the doctor, which meant that we were able to reduce the number of queries from 14 to 2, and we were able to increase the use of e-prescription in 1 month. And at the moment, as I said, 99% of the prescriptions are prescribed electronically, and this is this is the point where I'd like to say why you need to focus on people, or on citizens, or on clients. E-prescription is a very good example of that, because when we introduced e-prescription, then my focus was always that I need to find a solution where all the stakeholders are happy. So first of all, the doctors are happy that basically they can prescribe drugs also, so that they, for instance, when it's a multiple drug, or you have to prescribe it again, then you don't have to see the patient. The patients were happy that they can reduce the number of visits to doctors. The pharmacists are happy that they can collect and have the information online immediately. And also the health insurance was happy that they had much more transparency regarding the prescriptions. So all the stakeholders, patients, doctors, pharmacists, and health insurance were happy. And this is the same with the tax board, because electronic tax board today, 97% of the tax declarations are made electronically. For instance, when I have only one employer, then that means that it takes for me 5 to 7 minutes to fill the tax declaration, and I just need to check my pre-filled data. And that is why the tax board has already the information from the employer, has the information from the banks regarding my interest, for instance, when I have my mortgage or something. And all this is pre-filled already, and I just need to check it, and I just need to confirm it, and then it takes 5 to 7 minutes, not more, even maybe less. So again, state is happy, citizens are happy, banks are happy, and companies are happy with the tax declaration, and it's the same for the company. So you always need to find the way how to please the customers and the clients and the citizens, and then you can provide also the good e-service. Because in Estonia we were also we saw some challenging times, some challenging services. For instance, we had in hospitals we call it picture bank for the X-rays, for the MRTs, and it was not so easy to introduce that, because every hospital wanted to have their own picture bank for the X-rays. And when you cannot find the solution where all the hospitals are happy with that, then it was very difficult to introduce also this service. But now I believe that, yes, I will go through the e-Estonia timeline, and then I will focus a bit more also on e-governance. What is, because we have two different things here. One is e-governance and one is e-government. But as you see, already in 2000, we introduced the e-cabinet, which means that no bill, when we write a bill in the government, then no bill will go or will be printed out before it arrives here to Parliament. And also here in Parliament, actually everything is electronic, and only if a Parliament member demands or wants to have a printout, then we will make a printout. So as I said, we introduced tax board already in 2000. Actually, the first Initial launch was in 1999, but yes, officially we opened it for the businesses and for the people in 2000. And then in 2001, as it was clear that we need the X-Road, what I explained, then we introduced also X-Road. And then each year we introduced some new services. E-school came in 2002, digital signature, what is widely spread at the moment, and why we can have electronic voting, and we can simplify many procedures. It was introduced in 2002 with ID card. Then state portal is eesti.ee was introduced 2003, when I continue, then e-police, i-voting, e-notary, e-justice, mobile ID, company registration portal, and today Estonia still holds the record for establishing a company online, which is 18 minutes. And this, as I said, this is solid, approved company, and this is registered in the court during this time. Keyless signature infrastructure, e-health, 2008, e-prescription, as I said, 2010, 2011, and then we went forward already with the new services, and now the e-residency, as I mentioned, 2014, and now we have some new ideas with artificial intelligence, and we have artificial intelligence strategy, and we were happy that also Finns and Lithuanians started their e-prescription, and at the moment we are sharing already with Finland also our e-prescriptions, as many Estonians are living in Finland. Then this is a very good opportunity for them to use e-prescription system online. So before going to e-governments, I now ask the organizers to click on the link and to see. Now it's 6 minutes video about Estonian e-services. Some what I already said to you and explained to you, but some maybe key topics for you to see. So if I may ask the organizers to turn on the video, then I would be very happy. Thank you. And then after the video, I will continue.
E-governance is one of the key digitalization topics in Estonia, and it comes in many forms. As a start, the Estonian government completely discarded the old paper document-based decision-making system in the year 2000, all in favor of an innovative digital system called e-cabinet. Nowadays, the session hall is free of any stationary electronic devices, and politicians can use their own portable devices like laptops and
si
smartphones.
me escucha Hanno y me pueden bajar el audio del video, gracias. Sí, si me está escuchando Hanno en este momento, como nosotros tenemos el video aquí en México, necesitamos nosotros compartir la pantalla en Zoom para que Guatemala pueda ver también el video que nosotros vamos a transmitir de la presentación de Hanno y que todos puedan escuchar también nuestro audio. Entonces, Jaime, si nos permites, nosotros vamos a compartir pantalla. Y ahí, cuando compartamos la pantalla, pueden poner el video directamente en YouTube y así también lo pueden ver en Guatemala.
But how will they log in? Well, just like the rest of us, via ID card or mobile ID. They can see upcoming meeting agendas and also give preliminary votes on topics before the meeting. Topics that don't face preliminary objections won't even be debated anymore, and instead get adopted by default at the beginning of a session. That way, the average session time was cut from around 4 hours to 30 minutes, and this led to the creation of paperless parliament. So, since government representatives could vote online, the mindset started to change. 5 years later, i-voting was implemented and enabled citizens to cast their votes online for regular elections, be local, national, or European as well. Estonians can vote online since 2005, and Estonia was the first country in the world to have used nationwide e-voting in binding elections. How does e-voting work? Well, you need to download the free voting software, have an internet connection, and your ID card or mobile ID. Let's try it on this laptop. So I click on ID card, then enter my PIN 1 to get authenticated. Here I have a selection of the different parties. Let's pick a candidate who is running in my district. Then I confirm my choice and enter my PIN 2, the digital signature. Once that is done, I have officially cast my vote. Let's scan the QR code to see if my vote has arrived correctly at the voting server the way I gave it. However, my vote and the status of my participation are always divided. This system also allows me to change my vote during the e-voting period, which effectively means that I can never be forced or bribed to vote for a certain candidate, which makes it a lot more secure than postal voting could ever be. Moreover, the average cost of a vote cast online is a lot lower than that of a physical vote. And of course, it's also convenient, which is why more and more people use it. E-voting is frequently used by elderly people who otherwise might not be able to physically go to polling stations. Digitalization also helps to verify the validity of civic policy efforts such as proposals and petitions. Most online petition portals suffer from the fact that they use email and IP addresses to verify users. But if you use a VPN to alter your location, you can create as many email accounts and as many signatures on the petition as you want. In Estonia, platforms like the Citizen Initiative use the digital signature, so we can use participatory budgeting and include citizens into decision-making processes. But when we talk about e-governance, the biggest question in the room must be how all these services are available to the average Estonian. The state portal, eesti.ee, serves as a portal for most digital services that we can access online. First, I need to authenticate myself with the familiar options: ID card, mobile ID, or smart ID. Once that is done, I have access to services covering topics like healthcare and pensions, doing business, education, and leisure. This website helps me find out which of my medical prescriptions are still valid, when my car is due for the next technical inspection, how I can create a company in less than 30 minutes, and how to update my digital fishing license. Beyond this, I can also see from the data tracker who has accessed my data, when, and for what reason. In Estonia, this is called the truth by design approach. We also have certain services bundled into so-called live events that make those situations easier when you would usually have to get in touch with several government authorities or registries. As you can see, the online services in Estonia are very user-friendly and generally easy to understand, so that groups that might otherwise be at a disadvantage, for example, the elderly, people who have spent few years in the education system, or people with disabilities, are not left behind on the path to digitalization. And this was a crucial realization for the Estonian government. Almost no one truly rejects digital solutions. They just have to be good solutions. An online service that is exactly as complicated as the offline alternative will not get many people excited. But if the online service truly solves a problem for citizens, then it will gain traction. The first service was brought online in 1999, and indeed, it solved a big problem for many people. It was the online tax declaration. By now, people can declare their income tax within 3 minutes and a few simple clicks. This service, the solution itself, was incentive enough and got many people interested in the other digital services that followed soon after. Going beyond simply user-friendly services, Estonia is also working on what we call proactive governance. What does that mean? Well, even though most services are available quite conveniently online for Estonians, it is still ultimately the citizen that approaches the state for a certain service. Proactive services aim to reverse that logic, so that the government approaches you when it knows that you are entitled to a certain service. For example, when my doctor registers the birth of my child, I automatically get access to child benefits and other support measures to which I am entitled. Proactive services are particularly powerful in situations where a large majority of the population chooses one option over another. So if 99% of people want child support and 1% does not, then that 1% should be the ones contacting the government to inform them about that decision, not the 99%. In such cases, the benefits of saving time are self-evident, and the Estonian government is working on providing such services as we speak. As you can see, e-governance is another one of those topics which show us how the path of digitalization never ends, because there are always new options and solutions that can be implemented. Next up, we will be discussing the topic of mobility services.
So I believe I share my screen again. So just to continue from here regarding the e-governance. So it was a strategic choice of Estonia to move towards e-governance, and you have to have this strategic goal in your mind all the time that you need to change something. So as I said, and as you saw, that it was supported by digital identity. And for me, as responsible for Estonia at the moment, and trying to help Estonia going forward, the transparency is one of the key topics here, and has always been in digitalization, that this is more transparent than paper documents, and transparency is definitely one of the key topics. User friendliness. Active involvement of citizens in decision-making process, also that the e-participation, and also here in Parliament we got every week, or we get every week some new initiative from the people, and they can send it very easily, and it's very easy for the citizens. Then I mentioned to you earlier, but one of the key principles of e-governance is data protection. And data protection in today's world is very important. And without that, without giving people trust that they can trust the state, you cannot have good electronic services. And I already mentioned the once only principle. So, and just by facts, very quickly, 99% of the services are online, as I said. Medical prescription is the most used one. And by latest survey, 82% of all users are satisfied with the public e-services. 70% of ID card owners use it daily. And when I take the electronic elections, then we just had local elections 2 weeks ago, and 46% of the votes were given electronically. We are happy that Estonia is ranked number 1 on the Freedom of the Net Index, and we are on the United Nations e-government survey. We are ranked 3rd. Unfortunately, not the first ones, but we also need to have some goals for us to be better. Otherwise, there is nothing to fight for. So. Before going to the questions, just a couple of things and lessons what we learned throughout these 25 years. What you need to have is a clear and strong leadership. And I just had yesterday a group from one Swiss university, from the bachelor degree students, and they asked me that how did you manage to be on that level throughout all these 25 years. And I'm happy to say that every government has been very proactive regarding digitalization, and we have not had any problem with that. Is it conservative government or liberal government or social democrats or whoever, then we always had this, let's say that we have had like 3 topics which are over the party politics. One is defense politics or defense policy, and the other one is foreign policy. And I would say that the digitalization is the 3rd pillar of this understanding in every government, that we need to keep this road on our side all the time. The second point I would like to bring out is that you have to keep it short and simple, because people don't like to have very difficult e-services. They want to find it easy, they want to use it easy, and then they want to if needed, they want also to share it, and it has to be short and simple. I mentioned already transparency, and this is something which is in our blood, that we need to keep things transparent, because when you keep things transparent, then also people will trust you, then also people will see all these advantages. Shared platforms. Shared platforms is a good example of the X-Road, that we keep all the databases separately. We are not merging them to one huge Big Brother database, but every database is managed separately, but they are linked via X-Road, and that means that we can share different platforms. I mentioned already also the citizen-centric approach, which means that you have to think on service design. And when you don't have a good service design, then people will not take it also for their use. At the beginning, I mentioned public-private partnership, especially when the banks started to push the government to create electronic identification, and this was one of the success stories, or one of the key topics why we were able to move so quickly forward with digitalization. Also, I explained you the stakeholders' interest, that every stakeholder has to be happy with the service. So, of course, in different services, there are different stakeholders, but the principle and the point is still very simple. Keep it so that all the stakeholders will be happy with the service. As less restrictions you can create, the better it is. Don't put so many, or don't create a lot of different access obstacles or different doors to different services, because when you have, and this goes together with the keep it short and simple. So the environment, not only the services, but also the legal environment has to be restriction free. For the big services, of course, it has to be globally focused. And as a final word, I like to say it always: simple is beautiful, and less is more. So just as the last slide before the questions, the next goal for us is that it will be a seamless e-service 24/7. So as you saw from the video also, that the government will approach people, not that people have to find the government. And it is running like it's like an air, and it will be there all the time. You don't see that, you don't feel it, but you know that the e-services are there, and when you need something, you can also use them. So at the moment, we can say already, after 25 of years of this path, that digital world is not the future. It is a part of our everyday life, and this is we cannot even think about it. We all saw what happened when Facebook was down a couple of weeks ago for half a day. So everyone felt that now the world is at the end, so that we cannot live anymore, that we cannot communicate, that Messenger is down, Facebook is down, Instagram is down, and we are in trouble. But somehow still we are living, and we are enjoying our life. And last but not least, there is no option of not making a decision. So make a decision, bring the new services, and from my side, any kind of interest you have about Estonian e-services, a lot of videos, a lot of information you can find e-Estonia.com, and you are more than welcome to log into e-Estonia and to find out, and of course my contacts are also available for any kind of questions. So thank you very much for this opportunity to present you Estonian e-governance and e-government, and some other services. And I'm more than happy that the next 15 minutes or 20 minutes we have time for the questions and answers. Thank you.
Creo que no escuchó nuestro aplauso.
Yes, now I will.
Ahora sí. Gracias. Muchas gracias, Hanno. Lo que quería comentar es que creo que, bueno, muchas gracias antes a ustedes aquí en México y en Guatemala por ser parte de, creo que una de las reuniones de Zoom más grandes que hemos tenido. Si tomamos en cuenta que todos estamos conectados en esta plataforma, ahí, Hanno, puedes ver quienes estamos en México y en la otra pantalla puedes ver también a los que estamos en Guatemala. Quiero empezar con una ronda de preguntas para tal vez los que están aquí en México y después seguir con los que están en Guatemala. Entonces, si tienen algunas preguntas aquí, podemos pasar el micrófono. Dani, se los puedes hacer. Acá adelante tienen una pregunta. Pueden hacer la pregunta en español. Y solamente se pueden presentar primero, por favor. Está apagado. A ver.
Yo soy Gabriel Guatemala. Increíble. La única pregunta.
Hola, en Guatemala. Hola, hola.
Tanta perfección y tanta buen diseño, y dado que es un sistema que está pensando en el ciudadano que no controla los datos y por lo tanto hay libertad, la única pregunta es ¿qué comportamiento de la población ves antes de este sistema y hoy en día después de que todo se hace casi en línea? ¿Hay un comportamiento distinto? ¿La gente es, no sé, más feliz o más tranquila? ¿Tienen más tiempo libre y lo usan para algo productivo? ¿O qué reacción has visto de la población? Gracias.
Thank you very much for this question. First of all, what I can say is that productivity has raised a lot. So because we can do so many more things in one day, basically. Of course, we are thinking also on the green planet, that this helps us a lot to save forest and not to print out so many papers. But when I take the people, then for me as a citizen, as a father, just a person living here in Estonia, what I see that most of the services I can find online. I don't have to drive somewhere. I don't need to find someone. I can do everything online. So when I need to, even at the moment during the COVID, when we needed to be at home, we have all the e-shops. The goods are coming to your home with the courier. You can buy everything online. You can have all their services. Just today, I applied for a new ID card. So it took me 10 minutes to go into the police information system and to apply for a new ID card. So otherwise, I had to go to the police office, and it takes normally 2 to 3 hours to stand there in the queue to wait there. It takes my time. I don't have such a time to wait 2 or 3 hours in the queue to have a new ID card. Now it took 10 minutes for me to apply for a new ID card. The same, all these services, as I said, e-notary, all the child benefits, all the e-prescriptions. So, for instance, my mother, when my mother needed one new drug, then she called to her doctor, and then I had the possibility to go to the pharmacy next minute to buy it out and to bring this drug to my mother. So this you can just imagine that how much time everything this all saves to all of us. And I believe that when you go service by service, then I can bring you dozens, hundreds of examples how we save time, how we save money, how we save people's nerves, and this is all, you know, that these services are just citizen-centric and people-centric. And then when you keep this in mind, also in when I need to go with my car and park somewhere, I don't have to find a parking machine for that. I just take my mobile phone, click, and the car is parking. So all these services are just helping me I would say that the biggest advantage is to save time to manage my other businesses I need to do. So I hope that this answered your question.
Gracias, Hanno. Tenemos aquí 2 preguntas, por favor, en Guatemala, si nos dejan el audio. Adelante, por favor.
Hola, Hanno. Soy Abraham Salazar, del Instituto de Planeación en la ciudad de Torreón, Coahuila.
Un poco más pegado el micrófono.
Tengo 2 preguntas. La primera sería en relación al tema de la protección de datos personales. Pues vemos que, según tu exposición, tu país está altamente digitalizado, pero también en dónde quedaría el tema de las libertades individuales, pues pareciera que se controla demasiado el tema de incluso la movilidad personal. Y la segunda pregunta iría en relación al rezago digital que tenemos los países en América Latina. Pues por ejemplo, ayer comentaban las compañeras de Guatemala que, por ejemplo, creo que el 35% de la población tenía acceso a Internet. También hay qué recomendaciones pudieras hacernos a países de Latinoamérica respecto a este tema de la desigualdad en acceso a tecnologías de la información. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. I have to admit that every time I talk about e-governance, the first question normally is that what about data protection? And trust me, we are putting a lot of effort to protect our data and to protect our citizens. But I will give you one example, maybe, which gives a very good explanation to that. When your medical data is on paper, then and it has been it is stored in the doctor's cabinet, then someone makes a copy of that, makes a new copy, and gives this copy to someone. Then do you know who has looked your data and to whom it was given? No, you don't. When someone is looking to my data, my personal data in e-health record, then next second I know who has looked my data, and this gives to me the confirmation that I always know who has looked my data and what they did. Yes, we had to, in last years, we had to fire also some people from, for instance, from police who looked to people's data without any reason. And then they were punished for that. There is a criminal punishment for that, or administrative punishment, depending the case. But when you are misusing people's trust and data, then you will be punished. Then you will be either penalized or you have to pay a fine. The second question regarding the internet access, you know, we also started from the poor internet connection. The point is that when you show the benefits of the e-services, then also the mobile companies will start to look for the options to widen their reach. And this was exactly what we saw, that when you provide more services to people, then also the customers of the mobile companies will demand better connection. And of course, we also have to understand, we all have to start from somewhere. Is it 20%? Is it 10%? Is it 50%? Is it 100%? But when you don't start, then you will also not be able to finish. So it's the same with the clear water. It's the same with the canalization. It's the same with the roads. You have to start from somewhere. there is always a first road, there is always a first skyscraper, there is always a first digital service. So when the people see the advantages, the benefits of the e-services, then the people will be the ones who will demand and who will push the companies to build better connections. So this is my belief, and I believe that, even when you have 35% of the connection rate, then start with this 35%, and then you can have the next step, and to make the next step and next step, but you need to start from somewhere, even when it's only 5%.
Muchísimas gracias. Tenemos también otra pregunta acá, si se puede presentar.
Hanno Andrés Manning, comisionado estatal de mejora regulatoria de un estado de México, el estado de Hidalgo. Mi pregunta es la siguiente. La primera es, ¿cómo las leyes se mueven tan rápidamente o son flexibles para poder encompasar a los cambios dinámicos y rápidos de la tecnología? ¿Cuáles son los retos que encontraron con los legisladores en el Parlamento? Esa sería una pregunta. La siguiente pregunta sería, ¿cuáles son los riesgos y las amenazas? ¿Han sido hackeados alguna vez? ¿Han tenido downtime en sus sistemas? ¿Y cómo atienden esa problemática?
Thank you. Very good questions, really good questions. First, legislation. As I mentioned, we were happy that our leaders throughout 25 years have been very digital-minded. And of course, as I mentioned, you always have to have a political leadership. When you don't have a political leadership, then you will not have good services. Then you will not have also good legislation. And of course, for that, we were like pioneers. So we had to invent our own laws for that. And we didn't have a possibility to look around in the world. So when others are now starting the digitalization, then they can collect the best practices all around the world. Estonia is not the only one who has good e-services. We see different e-services in many other countries. And that is why I would say that in late 90s, we were lucky that we could skip all the old computer technologies and start also already with the new computer technologies, also from the hardware side, that we didn't have a big legacy from the Soviet time with the old bad hardware. So we were able to start with the new hardware, and this also allowed us to digitalize many things and to move forward also with the legislation. But regarding the legislation, the key message is very simple. You need to have a political leadership who understands the need of digitalization. Now about the risks. Yes, of course, one of the biggest or one of the first cyber attacks in the world was in 2007 against Estonia. And of course, and also I will now link this cyber attack to also the question what was raised regarding the legislation and how quickly we were managed, or we were able to introduce different services. Estonia is luckily a very small country. It's on one side it's a luck, on the other side it's maybe a challenge for us, but we can do, when we introduce a new e-service, we can do it state-wise. We can do it for all the citizens. When I take Mexico or when I take United States, big countries, then of course it is very difficult to do it state-wise. For instance, when we introduced e-health, then in different states in the United States, they have also e-health solutions, but they don't have it nationwide. We had the opportunity and the luck to do it immediately nationwide. So as we are so small, but in different countries, you have to find the right solution. Is it regionally or is it state-wise? So what is the best solution? You have to find it out. Regarding the risks, as I mentioned, 2007, it was a huge cyber attack against us. And then we were able fight with this so that we basically made Estonia as one island. We closed all the digital connections, internet connections to Estonia, and we started to reboot all the systems here. But this gave us one very important lesson. All our most important databases, like people's register, business register, land register, and some others are stored also outside of Estonia. We call it data embassy, and this data embassy is established in Luxembourg. So when anything happens here in Estonia with our most important databases, like people register, land register, and business register, then we can restore all the data from Luxembourg. So we have different locations for that. Of course, I will not tell where the exact location is, but yes, we have created a system that we also, of course, need to back up our systems. I hope that this answered your question.
Sí, muchísimas gracias. Y tenemos una última pregunta aquí en México. Igual si se puede presentar. Eran dos preguntas. Sí. Está apagado el micro.
Gracias, buen día, buena tarde. Yo soy Roberto Remes de la Alcaldía de Coyoacán. La pregunta va en dos sentidos. Uno, parecido a lo que le han preguntado sobre el uso de datos personales. ¿Dónde está la cámara? Acá. Ya. Sobre el uso de datos personales. ¿Cuál es en sí la política para definir y dónde podríamos encontrar más información sobre eso? Y la otra pregunta va en el sentido del uso de smart contracts, criptomonedas, blockchain en Estonia.
Yes. First of all, the additional information. As I said, e-Estonia.com is one of the best places to start your journey. So we have different videos there regarding the blockchain technology, what we are using. We have there also some information about the data protection and how we do it. But when I talk about the blockchain very quickly, then yes, we are using the blockchain, but not maybe like you think that normally it is used. We do not store personal data on the blockchain as that would be a data protection and privacy nightmare. But all the data exchanges like M2M or communications or data at rest and log files are independently and fully accountable thanks to blockchain technology. So with blockchain deployed in Estonian government networks, history cannot be written by anybody, and the authenticity of the electronic data can be mathematically proven. It means that no one, not hackers, not system administrators, and not even the government itself can manipulate the data and get away with it. So this is very shortly about the blockchain, but as I said, when you go and log in, or you don't have to log in, it's just free. When you go to e-Estonia.com, then you will find out more how we use blockchain regarding our services and also about the data protection, because as I understand, my time is over and definitely I would like to spend some more time with you, but the conference has their own agenda and I have to sum up here at this moment. So as I said, my contacts are available online. Just Google my name and then you can find everything and all the contacts about me. So thank you very much once again. And I hope that you will find some inspiration from my presentation. And hopefully next time we meet, you can already teach me, not that I can share my experience with you.
Perfecto, pues muchísimas gracias, Hanno, y muchas gracias también por la conferencia y a todos también en Guatemala por estar aquí con nosotros. Mandamos un gran saludo a Estonia. Muchas gracias.